Hello, I'm Richard Bruce, and this is yet another gang stalking log of the psychological warfare that I got brought against me starting in February of 2013 for uploading reptilian shapeshifter movies to YouTube. Now, what this is, when you're seeing these helicopters, is actually a form of psychological warfare. There's many different kinds, but this type is called air stalking, and it's combined with things, and the way it looks is so weird that most people looking at this without any real experience of the darkness that's actually in this world just can't believe, including myself. So I understand it looks nutty, it looks crazy, it looks like you snapped a wire somewhere, okay? I want to say that I acknowledge that, and that what I gotta tell you is that I can do everything that I can to try to prove it with the frequency of these flyovers, which, by the way, I never look for a single one. They always are coming for me. I don't wait in certain places where I think aircraft are going to go over or wait or plan it or anything. This is just what gets me in my daily life. I have never done anything like plan for this, okay? So let me tell you what happened. In case you just have never heard of this, it's called gang stalking, okay? That's the common term if you want to look that up on YouTube, gang stalking or targeting, okay? It is, as I find, a government sanctioned psychological warfare program, but it is not, if you think in those terms of it just being the government, and it is government controlled and sponsored. There's no way that they can do all this with vehicles, logistics, fuel, money being spent, manpower, and all this stuff. They can't do that without the consent, not only consent, it's originating from the American government. Now, just so you understand, I'm not, some sort of crazy anti-American person. I was always proud to be an American, okay? I used to sit around with my dad watching those old World War II movies and just, proud to be an American. And my dad always said America was the greatest country on earth. And I believe that, and I felt that we were the shining beacon of hope and light in the world. And it's just until only recently that not only did I discover that wasn't true, but it's so dark and so gruesome that unless you yourself have something dark put upon you in your life, like some unbelievable crap that these people now that you will check out, if you check out targeting or gang stalking on YouTube, unless you've had that, it just looks unreal. Okay, so how it happened for me was I'm interested in paranormal subjects. So I was looking on YouTube. I usually like to watch, some UFO footage, and I determined as a video expert that this footage cannot all be faked and/or it would cost way too much, and there's way too much of it. So there's some kind of non-human craft that are visiting Earth, whatever they are, I don't know. But so I was looking, and as I was looking at these types of topics, I kept seeing the reptilian shapeshifter movie topic come up. When I first saw this stuff, it looked like people getting excited over video errors and or people playing a joke trying to make, aliens because there really aren't any, so they're fixing it up in Photoshop. But I kept watching these, it kept coming up, and then I saw a channel called Frequency Fence. But the guy who did it initially made really good movies on it, even though it was just text, it was all silent. And he did a study on the movie The Matrix, which I was really familiar with, okay? That stars Keanu Reeves, right? So what happened was I saw this study that this person did showing non-human features, crazy stuff, claws and fangs. What, these are reptilian shapeshifters? What's going on here? So I studied the footage myself, and I just was blown away. It's amazing if you're aware of this and then you go through it slowly or even frame by frame, what you will find. It is just absolutely 100% mind-blowing. Now, whether you believe in this or not, okay, that's even beyond this question of the gang stalking, because see, what's important for me to tell you is I wasn't involved in anything else. I led a boring life, okay? Basically, as a graphic artist, office worker, wasn't involved with any mafia, didn't have any mafia friends, didn't have and it's important for me to tell you, my name's Richard Bruce, that's my real name. I have no priors, nothing, okay? I mean, my DMV record is clean, okay? And I just don't have a problem with criminality of any kind. So you say, well, didn't you have a past with drug? That's why all these helicopters are following you around, just like the guy from Blow, right? And those helicopters or whatever, or Goodfellas, he's like, oh man, those helicopters following me around, and because he was dealing coke. Well, in my case, I wasn't doing any of that stuff, and I got this unbelievable, I mean, it even took me months to even believe this could possibly be happening. I mean, I knew right away that something was wrong, and then, you know, because within 15 minutes of uploading my first reptilian shapeshifter movie study, which was just a follow-up of the study somebody else did on the movie The Matrix with Keanu Reeves, within 15 minutes of that, I had helicopters over my place like there was a drug bust, and that's what I thought it was. I didn't even realize at that moment that it was for what I had uploaded to YouTube, and that's what I want to tell you, my fellow Americans and fellow world citizens. I mean, how is it that we live in a free country if you can't upload something that supposedly shows paranormal footage? Because a lot of people look straight at it and go, oh, well, it's too blurry, you can't really see it, it could be a video area, and just straight up don't see it, straight up don't. I have, my father is a doctorate in mathematics, worked for Rocketdyne, Boeing, okay, rocket scientist. He can't believe word one or appreciates not one single thing that I've uploaded, and this guy's could blow me out of the water as far as, you know, mathematics and science goes. Okay, I flunked pre-algebra. I had to retake it in summer school, but that's because I was goofing off. I got an A, just so you know, when I retook it. But here's the thing, okay, friends, please, look, I got something serious to tell you, okay, and that my investigation finally boils it down to what's happening here, okay? And I don't want to sound like somebody who's closed-minded or you know, getting into something that is a religious belief system that would narrow the focus of my thinking to the point where I couldn't be reasonable to all possibilities. Aliens from space, which I do think there are, other planets, time travel, and just all kinds of weird stuff that's going on. I now realize is all true. It's not a fantasy. I mean, we're seeing the stuff in movies about time travel. We're seeing the stuff about, you know, aliens coming to Earth and disguising themselves as people, and I think all that's going on. But what's important to understand about this is the bigger picture, okay? People are wondering what's going on with social media. Why are people being kicked off of social media? Why are they shutting down people like Alex Jones, people like Police the Police from Facebook, Honest Reporters from RT? You gotta ask yourself what's going on. Why is it universal? Why is it they're getting kicked off of YouTube, Facebook, and Apple at the same time, okay? What's happening here is that it is, in fact, a giant, I'm gonna put it up on the screen here, giant man-eating reptile that was a former angel of God's kingdom, but he fell for his iniquity and turned into what the Bible calls a beast. And the beasts are, when you see those Egyptian paintings, you see the god, you know, Thoth or whatever, all those, one's got a bird head, one's got a reptile head, one's got a lion head, one's got a dog head. Well, these are the beasts, okay? And the bad news is they're evil for the most part, just like man, but they're more powerful than us, okay? They are technologically superior. By the way, they're keeping us down. That's really important to understand. They already have had technology to do all kinds of amazing things, heal every single kind of sickness, cause you to live much longer than we live now, and even regrow limbs. See the Randy Kramer testimony for that. You can see him on Project Camelot channel with Carrie Cassidy, and he has other interviews. You can also see the William Tompkins interviews. We have technology that can reverse aging, even reverse it once you're old, and that's what he was trying to get, he was hoping to get, but he was too morally correct, he was too righteous for them to give it to him. They'll only give that stuff to the most corrupt people, the kind of people that will okay ritual child sacrifice, friends. It is going on. It's important to understand why they do this. Why is this crazy thing? Why do we got this pedophilia rampant in Hollywood? It's all demonic. It's the kingdom of Satan, and it's important to understand this. It dwells within us. The plot to this story, friends, is that these creatures exist in a way that we can't understand, but the whole plot, the whole point is they want us to go to hell. Satan wants us to sin ourselves, join ourselves to him. It's a crazy and psychotic, and you can't understand how he would or why he would go against God and how all this works. But you got to understand right now, friends, as you're watching this, people are falling down into hell. This isn't a joke. This is serious. This is beyond serious. It's horrible beyond what I can understand, because if you look up hell on YouTube, you will see that there's no way, zero chance, zero, that all these people are having the same hallucination, or they're all lying.
And it was hot, really hot, and it was really, really loud as well. I could hear people crying and screaming for help every second they were being tortured.
My body's on the floor. My spirit and soul is coming. I went to a place that had a drop-off point, and these big black gates started opening up. All I could see is from what I could see with my eyes, and as far as I couldn't see no more. It was like an ocean of people screaming and crying. And all I could hear is, "Get me out of here, please. Please get me out of here."
And I find myself in this big, big, dark place. There's fire and there's screaming, there's shouting, and people saying that, "Let me out. Let me out. I want to do right. I want to do right this time. I promise to do right. Let me go out and tell the world and let them know that this is a real place. Hell is real."
Okay, it exists, it's real. And my finding shows that when you boil it all down, it is biblical. It is about what's in the scripture. God, heaven, hell, Satan, the whole thing. It is happening, just like you see in some of those movies you watched as a kid, you know, with the angels and the devils and the 10 Commandments and all that stuff, and Jesus the Savior. Don't forget that, okay? Because that is the answer. That is the out to all this. The name Jesus Christ and his sacrifice on the cross. God sent him to die on the cross so that anybody who reads that story for themselves and looks at it and says, you know what, why not? Why not say a prayer to God, a simple prayer? That's what I did, okay? 28 years ago. I didn't know if it was going to work. I grew up here in LA. My parents are rich doctors and rocket scientists, and I had everything. And I was going to have a house in Malibu with the Jaguar. But then it all fell apart when life wasn't what I expected it to be, and I hated everything. And next thing you know, I find myself living in my truck on the street, asking myself why. And then I got these pamphlets on my car because before, when I read the Bible, it didn't make any sense to me. They threw me in the brig in the Navy. They gave me a Bible. Didn't make any sense to me. Didn't like it. Wasn't into it. But years later, now on the street, I get these pamphlets from this pastor, Tony Alamo, and I read these pamphlets, and it said a simple prayer in the back, just saying a simple prayer to be saved, just to ask God to come into your life and to be saved by the work of Jesus Christ on the cross. And that's what I did. And I can tell you, friends, when that happened, I was given what's called a gift of the Holy Spirit. It's an additive given to you by God who created you that will allow you to believe in his words. And let me just tell you my story, friends, which is that, and maybe save you a little time, because it took me 20 years to figure out that Psalm 12:6 is true. Do not be fooled by all these people, even Jews and all these people say, no, it's mistranslated, no, a man got in and did that. Psalm 12:6 says, the words of the Lord, not anybody else, the words of the Lord are pure words. They are pure, okay? Do not be fooled. People will try to say that that's misinterpreted or whatever. No, this is the answer, and it is the authorized King James Bible. You do not need to get into all kinds of things of translating the Greek and the Hebrew, and, you know, God knows if it'll all, you know, work out and you'll be able to, no. God has given from the least unto the greatest to be able to know him, and it is in his word, the original and the true translation of his word, the authorized King James Bible for the English-speaking word, and also for other languages as well. The authorized. Notice there's only one called authorized, okay? Now, friends, I told you that because I did realize after looking at all this and what's happening, it is Satan, the giant man-eating reptile. He actually eats people. That's the big secret. That's what they don't want you to know. And the reason they can kick everybody off of Facebook and YouTube and all this stuff, and like nobody can do anything about it, and there's a blockage of the truth and all the network news channels, by the way, except the only one I've found so far that I haven't fully, decided that it's a lying news channel is RT. I just got to tell you that real quick. I've been watching them long enough now, and I haven't seen it myself, something that I knew was a deception, knew wasn't wrong. They're not preaching the gospel or anything, but as far as the news goes, I trust that news source. But friends, for the most part, all American news, all of them, okay? I'm not talking about like, PBS maybe tells the truth. No. CNN, MSNBC, Fox, they're all paid, knowing, paid liars. Okay, what they tell you on these news channels, friends, fellow Americans, is scripted. And not only that, it's evil stuff coming through. That's why I stopped watching TV. God revealed it to me. He revealed it in a way that was giving me a rebuke for watching TV, and then after a while of not watching it and thinking it and doing some study later and realizing it all, because I was a TV addict. I love TV. I mean, I love TV, okay? It was very hard for me to give it up, okay? But I want to tell you that it's wickedness coming out of that thing, and my recommendation is, once you realize that, and because I know it's very addicting, and you want to keep abreast on events, and you say to yourself, no, I can filter out the good from the bad. But what I'm telling you is, my suggestion is realize why. Don't pay any attention to it. Don't watch it. So friends, listen, when you see these helicopters and stuff, I'm not looking for this stuff, and the only ones I'm showing are ones that I am relatively sure was a gang stalking event, and also realize some of these things are holograms, okay? Believe it or not, I know it sounds even crazier, okay, but that's the whole point of keeping all this technology and stuff away from you, and they shoot down any extraterrestrials that come here because they don't want us to have our minds expanded to the point where we might start to think that there's non-human intelligence. All they want us living in this little bubble of a world, and the only non-humans or anything like time travel or super technology is just in science fiction. And you notice how we haven't been back to the moon. The space program was a joke. All this stuff is just a sham to keep us in this little bubble of consciousness, okay? And that's what most people are stuck in, unless something happens to you that starts to break you out of it. I was already partially broken out of it by the fact that I had realized that the whole UFO cover-up in Roswell had to have been done by aliens, because there's no way humans would be able to keep a lid on it as well as the lid has been kept on it. So I realized it had to be extraterrestrial, and also because man would not keep from his fellow man the most important discovery man could ever make, which is that we're not alone, we're far from being alone. There's more aliens than we can count, practically, okay? But there's a grid shield around the earth to keep us isolated from all that, so that we live in this little bubble, and there's holograms which keep everything secret. And they're using mind control. Look up William Tompkins. He gives great talk. They're using mind control gas, mind control electronics to keep us in a little sphere, okay? As long as you're scuffling off to work and you don't have time to think about deeper things, and you're running around, and meanwhile all of that is going to lead you straight to hell, and they know it, and that's what the plot is, friends. I'm not going to cover that up or try to say that it is anything else. They want you to go to hell for your sin, because the whole point of this whole scenario God has created is to see who will refuse the evil of this world at the cost of his own life. Who will, for righteousness' sake, stop serving them, stop being afraid of running out of money, who will fight the evil, who will expose them, who will show courage, who will show God that you appreciate that he is your creator, and you're going to do what he says in his word, the authorized King James Bible. This is Buzz. Thought-based buzz, thought-based buzz. It's going for a direct overhead. Now flyby. It's your black and white LAPD. Just saw an orb go by. Thought-based buzz. I was thinking about a confrontation if a cop pulled me over for not having insurance, and what I would do to resist, or if I would resist. And then we got that flyover. Kind of interesting. It's probably a hologram for that kind of timing, you see, because they're not going to have a helicopter come out just for that. So that's probably what you just saw as a hologram.
I'm thinking that the airplanes that crashed into the World Trade Center were holographs. And he said, John, you're probably right, and here's why. He said, just before I retired, I was driving down on the Bayshore Freeway to Sunnyvale, and he said I had a friend in the right seat of the car, and he says, like it was about 8 o'clock in the morning, maybe 8:15. He said, we're driving south, and we saw this shadow, and we looked up, and here he says it wasn't a 747, but it was a huge 4-engine airplane. It wasn't 200 feet above us. And he said, we looked out and looked at this thing, and he said, of course, we're 20 miles from San Jose, and 30 miles from San Francisco. There's no possible way an airplane could, legitimately be flying right there. And he says, we watched it for about 10 seconds, and it went just like you turned a light bulb out. And he said, if that was the contemporary holograph, presentation of a holograph, he says, then you're right. And
that's
the
very
holograph,
interesting.
the holographic technology is so far advanced that people just wouldn't believe it.
Helicopter approaching, probably fire by the sound of it. Direct overhead, nope, not fire. Let's see, wait. Yeah, fire and rescue. Direct overhead. Buzz in progress, buzz in progress.
You still don't get it, do you, boys? There ain't no countries anymore. No more good guys. They're running the whole show. They own everything, the whole goddamn planet. They can do whatever they want.
And I remember, I'll swear on a stack of Bibles, I remember a lizard man in that office. It was His Highness Draco something. I can't remember the other name. And he was about 6 foot, 7 foot tall, had sort of like scaly skin, humanoid. He walked erect like we do. He had 2 arms, 2 legs. He had a tail, but it really didn't show most of the time. He had somewhat of a humanoid face, strange eyes, a big mouth, and looked like what you would expect if you're going to put together a lizard man. There was a being on Star Trek called the Gorn that Captain Kirk fought on this planet. This man that I worked next to sort of resembled that being. Now,
how did that strike you?
I didn't.
That would have to be a traumatic experience. No, not to you.
I didn't have that much to do with it. I call it it. I'm not sure whether it was he or she. But I didn't have that much to do with it.
But you accepted his presence as something normal for...
What else do you do? You're working next to this thing.
True.
It's, how are you? Hi, that sort of thing.
Going for coffee and donuts?
Yeah.
He spoke in a hissy voice, hissed a lot. And sort of sounded like he was loud whispering most of the time.
This is the buzz, this is the buzz. Direct overhead, direct overhead. See where I'm standing? Got the helicopter coming right here like this. This is for uploading reptilian shapeshifter movies to YouTube. Reptilian shapeshifter movies to YouTube on Ripley's Believe It or Not. You got law enforcement vehicles being used for psychological warfare harassment on a continual basis for uploading reptilian shapeshifter movies to YouTube. Believe it or not, what you could be looking at is a hologram. I know that sounds crazy, I know that sounds funky, but as a matter of fact, that is what is going on, according to John Lear. And you can even see an episode of The Simpsons where there's a disappearing helicopter. Thought-based buzz, and also a timing. I'll time it right when I come home or right when I leave the house. Got your Mini for a direct overhead. Direct overhead, here it comes. Here's your Mini. Direct overhead Mini, direct overhead Mini. Leaving the house buzz, leaving the house buzz. This is for uploading reptilian shapeshifter movies to YouTube. Believe it or not, friends, I uploaded images, supposedly, if you don't believe it, of non-humans, and I got this continual psychological warfare harassment with aircraft flying directly overhead, and it doesn't seem like a big deal until it happens to you on a continual basis, because they also can use mind control and demons living inside you, which can make you extra irritated every time they happen. So it's a coordinated attack, and they part of the hell is that it's so amazing that you can't believe it, and that's part of the hell that you go through. Can't even hardly believe that it's happening. That's part of the torture.
It's almost like that Christian persecution doesn't exist. I mean, Hail Satan! Hail Satan! Hail Satan! Hail Satan!
in the police station when he was being held down and the sergeant came over, he said the sergeant shapeshifted in front of him, turned into a reptile, and then came back to human and then shapeshifted again and returned. So then when you talk to insiders and when you look back at the texts that talk about the fact that this serpent race exists in planes unknown to man, just outside this frequency range, then there is a gathering mass of evidence that this is going on. And he went to the elevator. And as the elevator doors were closing, this guy, still at it, comes in the elevator, right in his face, get absolutely livid. And he said he shapeshifted in front of me.
Security intersected as I exited the this coffee shop mall area. Notice the timing as I came out of here. This is a common theme with gang stalking. Hey friends, so I just wanted to witness very clearly that in case anyone had any doubts as to whether or not YouTube demonetized my channel over the Greer exposure, I assure you that's what it was. They can use the excuse that I had used a clip from They Live and monetized it, but I had done that many times before and similar things, and they didn't demonetize my whole channel. And then when I didn't re-up it quick enough, then they sent me a notice saying that that my account's been deactivated. I would have to reapply for the whole thing. All right, special shout out to my friend Trent, who got me some teriyaki jack flinks. All right. Anybody wants to send me beef jerky, they can, anytime. Thanks a lot, dude.
And when the United States is unwilling to abide by its obligations, then there's really nothing to talk about, because first of all, the United States has shown itself to be untrustworthy, and second of all, in future, let's say hypothetically the Iranians speak with the Americans and come to an agreement, who's to say that Trump will not tear apart another agreement in future? And as you just now showed to your audience, one day Trump threatens Iran with death and destruction, and a few days later he speaks about unconditional talks. His Secretary of State says one thing, he says something else. So he's unreliable, he's untrustworthy, he's erratic, and he's not someone that the Iranians can deal with.
In his incredibly important speech, Putin says, "We see that many Euro-Atlantic states have taken the way where they deny or reject their own roots, including their Christian roots, which form the basis of Western civilization. In these countries, the moral basis and any traditional identity are being denied. National, religious, cultural, and even gender identities are being denied or relativized. There, politics treats a family with many children as equal to a homosexual partnership. Faith in God is equal to faith in Satan." And guys, here's the Pizzagate DC pedo ring bombshell that Putin dropped. And I quote, "The excesses and exaggeration of political correctness in these countries indeed leads to serious consideration for the legitimization of parties that promote the propaganda of pedophilia." Putin clearly knows about the elite's penchant for pedophilia, and Tom DeLay himself has warned the American people.
Well, we've already found a secret memo coming out of the Justice Department. They're now going to go after 12 new perversions, things like bestiality, polygamy, having sex with little boys and making that legal.
Putin continues. The people in many European states are actually ashamed of their religious affiliations and are indeed frightened to speak about them.
I was given to the man who owns me by my birth parents, and I was forced to have sex with clients.
By a very large, very dangerous organization.
My whole life I traveled all over the world and would go to some of the biggest events to meet clients.
On the outside, her clients were pillars of their communities.
They were in law enforcement, doctors, psychiatrists, judges, politicians, even people who owned sports teams. They were all extremely rich and prominent members of society. I attended many parties for people who had just got elected into office.
But behind closed doors, she says they were sinister and evil human beings.
I remember a lizard man in that office.
Hail Satan! His power is stronger than stronger. His might shall last longer than longer. Hail Satan!
No! It can't be! No! Look at his hands and his feet. Oh, God!
Now it's that same darker one. Seems to be patrolling around the area. Okay, got 241 and 26th. Yeah, this guy's been circling around for a little bit. Don't know how long, because I woke up to it. Helicopter buzz, direct overhead, Arrival at destination buzz. As you get out of your vehicle, a helicopter flies directly overhead. You got your black and white or black and white LAPD or black and white unmarked. Direct overhead as exiting the vehicle. Psychological warfare using aircraft or holograms thereof for uploading reptilian shapeshifter movies to YouTube.
The resolution was presented on January 3rd when the Democrats already knew Emperor Babyfingers was about to take power. They didn't care. They want war. And they want to send you or somebody you know to go die in it. Going to war because we think a Middle Eastern country might develop weapons of mass destruction. Why does that sound familiar? Well, I'm sure it'll be a cakewalk, right? How bad could it possibly be? Apparently, our foreign policy is being designed by people with Alzheimer's. Here's a recent photo of our top Pentagon think tank. We'll say there's weapons of mass destruction. We haven't tried that yet, have we? Can I have your pudding? So that's the top of our Pentagon. So why are the Democrats and the Republicans, basically the entire corporate government, gearing up for war? Like the real reason, not the bullshit reason they're throwing at us. Well, one important factor, rarely mentioned by the mainstream media, is that Iran is getting ready to drop the petrodollar. They don't want to be paid for their oil in US dollars anymore. So what does that matter? You know, sure, it'll hurt the American economy a little and perhaps send a message to other Arab nations that dropping the dollar is a good thing to do. But it's not like we would destroy a country just because they stopped using the dollar. Well, here's an interesting article from Time magazine in 2000, before we invaded Iraq. Iraq says it will no longer accept dollars for oil because it does not want to deal in the currency of the enemy. And it's not just Iraq. Remember when we destroyed Libya? Declassified emails reveal NATO killed Gaddafi to stop Libyan creation of gold-backed currency.
The world community wants to keep the Iran nuclear deal. Our allies are the Germans, the French, the British. They want to keep in this deal. The world community wants to keep the deal. Let's talk about normal countries. How did the war with Iraq turn out? How did Libya turn out?
Just so there's no confusion here, if the Syrian regime uses chemical weapons, we will respond very strongly.
Syrian armed forces have no chemical weapons and no plans to use them. There is no military necessity for it.
We urge the international community to support our collective efforts to end serious use of chemical weapons, and we remain resolved to act if the Assad regime uses chemical weapons again.
Sensible people will not use militarily useless means to draw the fire of three powerful countries upon themselves.
We have all seen what the Syrian regime, backed by the Russian government, has done in the past. That should not be a surprise to anyone that that would be a concern of ours once again.
We have the impression that US threats against Damascus are aimed at preventing terrorists from being expelled there. It's not the first time the US, no matter which administration, has prioritized the task of changing dissident regimes above the common goals of eradicating terrorism and extremism. The coalition said destroying Gaddafi was not their goal. Then why bomb his palaces? Now some officials have claimed that eliminating him was in fact their goal. Who gave them that right? Did he have a fair trial? Returning to the no-fly zone, the bombings are destroying the country's entire infrastructure. When the so-called civilized world uses all its military power against a small country destroying what's been created by generations, I don't know if that's good.
It's in favor of the banks. It's certainly not in favor of the people. What happens when you have a child is your child is given a social security number. They estimate how many taxes your child is going to pay over his or her lifetime. And they take that birth certificate and they issue it on the capital markets and they earn money on it. I'm saying something much worse, actually. What I'm saying is that when every citizen goes into the court system, they are not seen there as themselves a U.S. citizen. They're seen as the person who had their birth certificate pledged. You're there as a debtor. You're not there as a citizen. We have been converted from human beings that are citizens of the Republic of the United States into chattel. Chattel, that is a legal term for something which is property. We are now considered to be property of the Federal Reserve. We're not considered to be human beings and citizens of the United States.
I joined up, month out of training, I arrive in Baghdad, Iraq, January 04. Saddam's been captured. And I get there, and the guys that I'm serving with have been there for 6 months already. They were there in 03. And I go, well, you know, I think it's come out that, you know, these people had nothing to do with 9/11. There was no Iraqi on those planes. We can see around here, there's no Al-Qaeda, there's no terrorist syndicates in Baghdad or Iraq. Saddam had stamped them out. And I asked my buddies, well, you know, we're here to find weapons of mass destruction. And they laughed at me. And I said, well, you know, we're here to help the people. And they laughed at me. And I said, well, what's our mission? What's our goal? I thought we were going to find the people that did 9/11. I thought we were going to get these weapons of mass destruction. I thought we were going to help the people. And they're like, all we're trying to do is make it home alive. And then I'm going to lead you in now to the other lies. Because you guys know the lies, but I bled for these lies. I watched my brothers die for these lies.
people had lost people in 9/11. 1, 2, family. I lost many of my friends and brothers. And I lost part of me for the stuff I did in Iraq. And then we go to January, February, March. You know, nothing's happening. And then Bush gives his speech about bring it on. And in April of '04, we lost 135 soldiers for this lie, for his lies, for his swaggers being from Texas or whatever. And the more soldiers we lost, the more our procedures changed. Which leads into escalation. 9/11, we can go kill people now. We lost 135 guys. We can kill people now. We were ordered and fired upon, you know, hunker down, radio, wait for orders to return fire. In April, they told us in a crowded area, if one person shoots at you, kill everybody. Because they're letting them attack you. They are no longer innocent if they're there at the time of the crime. Sounds like American rules. If your buddy commits a crime, you're there, you can get caught up on charges on it. But these aren't charges, these are death. We're killing people because they're there when someone else attacked us, because we believe that if we kill enough innocent people, they'll stop the people from attacking us. But what they don't realize is the innocent people we killed, it was their brother, it was their uncle that was trying to kill us, because we already killed his 3 children. You roll into Baghdad, every single big apartment building is blown up. Every single apartment building in Baghdad has been broken to the ground by artillery and airplanes bombing. You cannot meet someone in Iraq who has not lost a family member. Could you imagine what we had done in America if in 9/11 everybody in America lost a family member? What would we be doing? Would we be talking about war? No, we'd be in the streets with weapons. And so people talk about, oh, these people killing American soldiers in Iraq, they're terrorists. Not terrorists, they're wearing sandals. And they got an AK. And they got 14-year-old boys building bombs to kill these American soldiers because we've killed their family. So we're done in Baghdad. We killed enough people. I was ordered to kill innocent people. We killed innocent people. When they shot at us, we shot at everybody.
Carry on business as usual while American soldiers and Iraqi civilians die under the machinery of war.
We want to know why you came to Iraq. Why? No, not you. You're a politic. You're a command. Why came here? You said you have many reasons. Still now, you don't have anything. But look what you done. You destroyed. You destroyed all the people. Why? Because your politic is very wrong from the beginning. When you let the people steal everything or take everything, and you... This all happened. But we want to know how we can live now.
How did the war with Iraq turn out? How did Libya turn out?
This is Buzz, direct overhead, direct overhead. Helicopter approaching. Silver and gray LAPD. Turns off and flies off.
At the beginning of this month, the police in our country had already killed 400 people so far this year. To give you something to compare that to, In the year preceding April 2016, UK cops discharged their weapons 7 times, with 3 people killed. 7 times! They had only fired their guns 7 times in a year. Your average American cop discharges their weapons 7 times just to open their beer can. Yes, our cops have killed over 400 people so far this year, and of the 1,100 2017 killings, officers were charged with a crime in only 13. 1% of all killings by police. Just 1% are even charged with anything. It's basically open season on Americans by our own police forces. Well over half of all these killings began with police responding to suspected non-violent offenses or cases where no crime was reported. In a little under half of the killings, the victim didn't even have a gun. And most of those who were completely unarmed and yet killed anyway were people of color. So you see, it's not that cops don't kill white people. They kill tons of white people. They kill more white people than Wendy's Baconator sandwich, all right? But no, it's that the white people cops kill are more likely to be waving a gun around. The black people are often not. On average, police recruits get 8 hours of training on how to de-escalate a situation. They get 58 hours of training on how to shoot things. Ah yes, de-escalation. If police did not kill people who were not posing a threat with a gun, there would have been 638 fewer deaths in 2017, a 57% reduction. Well, I think it's pretty undeniable that we have a uniquely American problem in which civilians are getting massacred by police on a near daily basis.
Coming by for the evening buzz. Silver and gray LAPD. Low helicopter flyover. It is just did a flyover, direct flyover. 133. Here it comes again. Get the spotlight out, shining down. AM, 1:33 AM.
I remember a lizard man in that office.
They have taken the hearts and minds of our leaders. They have recruited the rich and the powerful, and they have blinded us to the truth. Our human spirit is corrupted. Why do we worship greed? Because outside the limit of our sight, feeding off us, perched on top of us from birth to death, are our owners. Our owners. They have us. They control us. They are our masters. Wake up. They're all about you, all around you.
Yes, our cops have killed over 400 people so far this year, and of the 1,100 2017 killings, officers were charged with a crime in only 13. 1% of all killings by police. Just 1% are even charged with anything.
Coming hot.
It's totally outrageous. There are 15,000 homeless people in DC throughout any given year. We have approximately 1,200 homeless families, which includes over 3,000 individuals, many of whom are housed in a subpar shelter system. If you're a minimum wage worker in DC, you'd have to work over 100 hours a week, 52 weeks a year to pay market rate for a 2-bedroom in DC. There's 40,000 people at least on the public housing waiting list. So it's totally abysmal.
And then even if you get the public housing, you still have a lot of issues such as the upkeep of the properties, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was quoted in city papers saying that the city is its own biggest slumlord because of the conditions that it keeps many public housing tenants living in. Mold, lead, rodent infestation, collapsed ceilings, and this is all while many people are actually paying rent to live in these conditions, but there's nowhere else to go.
And does that just come down to profit? It's not profitable to really worry about the lead in these buildings? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's clear that the city has other priorities, like constructing dog parks and building stadiums and other such.
Right, a lot of people don't know the amount of money,
endeavors.
like taxpayer money that goes into like a stadium.
Yeah, and there's a lot of taxpayer money that actually subsidizes luxury redevelopments. I mean, all of the land on the southwest waterfront, the wharf, was given to this guy, a slumlord actually, named Jeff Griffiths, for $1. That's $95 million worth of public land. So you have the city making decisions to give away huge swaths of public land to private developers so that they can then, charge us rents that we can't afford and profit from extracting as much as possible from, the masses of working people for this basic human need. You can't talk about displacement here without talking about the theft of Palestinian land, the destruction of their olive trees, the bulldozing of their neighborhoods under the brutal Israeli occupation. There are so many similarities to draw from that, but also, the fact that housing is a commodity under, the economic system known as capitalism, which is an international system that affects people all around the world, tells us that we need a worldwide international movement to decommodify housing. It's not just about homelessness. It's not just about the lowest income earners. It's also about the quality of life for the masses of people. It's about the people that are staying on a friend's couch for a few months so that they can save up for the security deposit and first month's rent. It's about people, struggling paycheck to paycheck, to pay their mortgage. Or, it's about the fact that people are robbed of a good quality of life. People are robbed of other things that they would be able to do with their time. Because they're busy, selling their labor
right.
To pay for a roof over their head.
Yeah, and I think it's 63% now can't afford a $500 emergency in this country, so it doesn't take much for things to spiral out of control.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And we got a buzz in progress, here he comes. Got your black and white LAPD, looks like. Going for a direct flyover, near direct flyover. For uploading reptilian shapeshifter movies to YouTube, just uploaded one today. Turns off once he's passed over, notice that, see? Came from this direction here, straight. From here, once he's passed over, turns off.
I remember a lizard man in that office.
Hail Satan!
And I was in Fort Knox, is where I was stationed, Kentucky. And I watched the gold that doesn't exist. But I had to point a rifle at people I didn't know and use it. And it fucking fucks me up. Because it's not a pretty thing. It is a nasty, visceral event, and I see where psychopaths come from, man, because that's how they deal with it, is they embrace it and thirst for it. I can see it because it's so ugly you can't look at it for what it is as real. You have to fucking hide.
War sucks.
War is stupid. We guarded a freaking lithium mine when we got there because cell phones were coming out with lithium-ion batteries and drills. That was the other asset besides opium we are over there protecting once we seize control over the Taliban. I fought for nothing, just like my father in Vietnam. We fought for he fought for heroin and drug money, and I fought for lithium and freaking heroin too.
Right, so in LA and Los Angeles, I mean, you see a lot of inequality happening. Usually the rich people, the higher upper middle class or so, are able to survive. And the average rent for a one bedroom here is $2,000.
And I want to jump to the military now. It may seem like a not connected, segue here, but it actually is connected. I was wondering if you could talk a little about that connection between military spending and economic inequality here at home.
Right, so I mean, we just approved bipartisanly. I believe all Democratic senators just voted to increase military spending. We're inching closer and closer to $1 trillion. This is a bipartisan effort to keep on spending on the military-industrial complex. And basically every dollar that's spent on our wars or intervention in Syria, Iraq, Iran, or wherever it be, is just another missed opportunity to provide basic human social services here that, like healthcare or education or housing.
I remember a lizard man in that office.
And so, it was just mentioned that it's a profitable business, and that's what war is. And if the ones who benefit the most are the military-industrial complex and the investors, and so no one here benefits from war.
I remember a lizard man in that office.
And like I said, it takes away from fixing our country here at home.
Why do you think it is, so many U.S. politicians, as you're saying, on both sides are pushing for regime change around the world, and therefore it equates to just endless war?
I remember a lizard man in that office.
I mean, number one, our politicians are bought. So whoever is going to give our elected officials the most money, they'll take it. And I think, Democrats as well, they are still a war party. I believe that they still need to show that they are patriotic.
I remember a lizard man in that office.
Direct overhead as I come home. This is psychological warfare using police vehicles for uploading reptilian shapeshifter movies to YouTube. For uploading reptilian shapeshifter movies to YouTube, they have a helicopter fly directly overhead. As I arrive home in my vehicle, you can see he passed directly overhead, and you can see that as a black and white Los Angeles Police Department helicopter.
See him like
draw a small gray.
Small gray. Damn.
That's not
Are these the aliens that you've seen?
That is not gray.
No, but
Which ones did you see?
yeah, these right here, the small grays. They have a little
They had a
slippery
mouth? How do they breathe?
They have nostrils, but they don't.
Do they breathe oxygen?
Yes, they can breathe oxygen. The atmosphere on their planet is very similar, but it's a binary star system, so they have like two suns, and which makes the air a lot drier. Their skin is their bones are more fragile than ours. But they kind of.
So I can fucking.
They kind of look like that.
They don't want to fuck.
What's their body look like?
Their bodies, well, I've only seen
Do they walk around naked? Do they wear clothes? What do they do?
The chicks have boobs.
How do they fuck?
On their home planet. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. Now, see, they didn't. I'm reading that exchange program that Steven Spielberg explained at the end of Close Encounters of the Third Kind was really close to
Draw a female up there because I want to see if I fuck it.
Well, I don't know. They look the same.
When the special sport comes down, how do you tell a male from a female?
Your point.
They got fun bags?
No, not from what
Who they fuck?
Actually, EBE1 is a female. The one, was a female. She actually
Draw the other one. This is the gray. Draw all three of them.
Do the girls have?
Because I want to know which one I want to
the reptile ones look
Which
like?
one I'd fuck.
And then there's another one which is actually a clone These things created a clone, which looks something similar, but it has
these
a
are
large
bad dudes?
pointy
They
nose.
cloned?
They have large pointy noses, but they pretty much.
And you said they live among us, huh?
There was another incident called the. What was it? Hangar number 4 incident or something.
Good word.
Okay.
Hangar number 4. And these right here are the tall whites, and they're actually a clone created by the small grays.
Are they
They're like servants.
What's the angry ones look like? The reptile ones that you were talking about.
Fucking bad. The ones that we're gonna be fighting.
Yeah, they have small eyes.
Yeah, we actually saw those in Battle LA.
They have small eyes
In their suits.
and
They cut open their stomachs and found
They got
out
weapons?
They didn't have a heart, just a core.
they have weapons.
They're kind of like an onion.
Do they have weapons?
layers.
But it's okay, she's a veterinarian.
Are
she
they
can help.
evil?
The alien ones
Or not? They look like reptiles, not friendly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. This is a very bad drawing, but
It was pretty good to me.
This is dudes on land and lost, right?
Just eat something. How tall are those motherfuckers right there?
These guys right here, and they're all humanoids, so they both walk on 2 legs. They all walk on 2 legs.
Well, I don't want to fuck that thing.
And this thing right here,
the first thing, and they'll go like the fucking first one. I'd probably fuck
this thing, this thing right here is huge. They're actually they're taller than us. They stand about 6 foot something on an average to 7 foot.
Are they are they like 230?
They're huge. I don't know, but
They're gonna fuck me
the
up.
one
Full
image that I
range?
have seen of them, they're huge. Like they have very strong build. Like,
But their bones are fragile.
No, not those.
This is going
The
on
small-
American
the
Funny
small.
Song videos.
Well, what's up with the fucking big dudes? Like, what's their fucking planet like?
But this guy?
Yeah.
I don't know, but they.
How do they react? Can they breathe oxygen too?
These, yes, but these and these had a large war.
Okay, who won?
These guys. Well, no, these guys won. They almost wiped these out, but.
They had a soft spot.
So we should be more worried
But
about
their
the blue
planet
ones.
was destroyed, so they had to go to Serpo.
Well, this guy's got a fucking bunch of motherfucking clones. So.
How do you know that there was an alien war?
Because EBE1 said so.
I actually watched Star Wars.
What the fuck is EBE1?
We support. We
It's
exchanged
the
the motherfucking.
it's
We did
the
like a foreign
surviving.
exchange program.
I think they've had, according to Mark Richards, in my interviews with him, there have been other battles above ground with in both Syria and in Africa. However, this would be the first huge battle that took place, certainly in the United States, above ground. And that the fire was basically a cover for this. He said that the white marks on hillsides indicate the use of high energy weapons by our side, apparently, during that battle, and that the fire, I did see this, that the fire came right up to the prison where Mark is being held. He said that ET races have been given large parts of Africa and South America to have free reign to abduct and kill humans. That includes various ET races, which are the Draco, the Reptoids, the Greys, and a few others. And they have been allowed to hunt, capture, and use as slaves and as a food source, the humans. But they are now wanting to expand their territories. The Illuminati dark side of the military has made, and also the elite have made a deal with the devil. They are in denial of how they will fare in the long run, but they can continue to make deals. And he said thousands of people within the elite have made this deal and continue to do so.
The reptilians arrived here and again began to take over, instilled themselves in different places underground in the earth, and also this one part of them, the ruling part, took over and became involved in the politics and in the religion, and started controlling through these means at that point in time.
Flying slowly overhead. Flying high. Say this prayer now. Father in heaven, please save my soul by the work of your Son Jesus on the cross, and show me your pure words in the authorized King James Bible.